Ever wondered why your complex password might not be as safe as you think? Here's an intriguing thought for you. Even the most intricate password can become a weak link in your security chain, thanks to a vulnerability known as pass the hash. This seemingly innocuous method is a popular tool among cyber attackers, exploiting the very way your network handles password authentication. Curious? You should be. Stay tuned as we delve into the world of network vulnerabilities. To grasp pass the hash, we first need to understand passwords. At their core, passwords serve as a unique key, opening the lock to our digital lives. They safeguard our personal information, financial data, and so much more, making them an essential tool in the realm of cybersecurity. Now, when you set a password, it's not stored in its original form. Instead, it undergoes a process called hashing. Imagine hashing like a one-way street. You take your password, it goes through a complex mathematical algorithm, and out comes a unique set of characters, the hash. This hash is what gets stored, not your actual password. This design is deliberate, adding an extra layer of protection. Even if someone manages to access the hash, they can't reverse engineer it to uncover your original password. At least, that's the theory. But what happens when these hashed passwords get into the wrong hands? That's where pass the hash comes into play. Pass the hash, a phrase that sounds more like a game, but in reality, it's a serious cybersecurity vulnerability. Let's break this down. Imagine your computer password is like your house key, but instead of carrying the actual key around, which could be lost or stolen, you carry around a picture of it. This picture, or hash, is what your computer uses to verify your identity. Now, what if someone else gets a hold of that picture? They could use it to trick your computer into thinking they're you. That's essentially how pass the hash works. In the computing world, passwords are often stored as hashes, which are like unique fingerprints of the passwords. When you enter your password, the computer doesn't compare it to the actual stored password, but to its hash. It's a smart way to keep passwords safe, right? Well, there's a catch. An attacker doesn't need your actual password to gain access. If they can get their hands on the hash, say, by exploiting a software vulnerability or through a phishing attack, they can use it to trick the system. They pass the hash rather than the actual password, and voila, they're in. The scary part? This method bypasses many traditional security measures. Since the system is only checking the hash, it doesn't matter if your password is 20 characters long or if you change it every day. If an attacker has the hash, they can get in. This is what makes pass the hash attacks so potent. They exploit a fundamental aspect of how systems verify identity, turning a strength into a weakness. And once an attacker is in, they can escalate their privileges, access sensitive data, or even take over the entire system. So, an attacker doesn't need your actual password. Sounds scary, right? But don't panic yet. Let's talk about prevention. Now that we know what pass the hash is, how do we protect ourselves from it? Preventing pass the hash attacks requires a multi-pronged approach. One of the most effective tactics is regular password changes. Regularly changing your password ensures that even if a hash is stolen, it will soon be outdated. This makes it less valuable to an attacker and reduces the potential damage. However, it's crucial to remember that changing your password alone isn't enough. Each new password should be unique and complex to reduce the chance of it being cracked. Next, let's talk about limiting privileged accounts. Privileged accounts are like the golden tickets for hackers, granting them access to the most sensitive and valuable data. By limiting the number of these accounts, you reduce the potential points of entry for an attacker. This also means that each privileged account requires a higher level of security. It's like having fewer doors in a fortress. Each door can then be guarded more effectively. Another strategy is to implement multi-factor authentication, or MFA. MFA adds an additional layer of security by requiring users to provide 2 or more pieces of evidence to authenticate their identity. So even if a hacker manages to obtain a user's password, they would still need to bypass the other layers of security. It's like having a second lock on your door. Even if a thief manages to pick the first lock, they're still not getting in without the key to the second one. But perhaps the most important strategy is to be proactive. Cybersecurity isn't a one-and-done deal. It requires ongoing vigilance, regularly update and patch systems, educate users about potential threats, and conduct periodic security audits. Remember, cybersecurity is a race, and the finish line is always moving. Staying ahead of the curve is key. So there you have it. Regular password changes, limiting privileged accounts, implementing multi-factor authentication, and proactive security measures are all effective strategies in preventing pass-the-hash attacks. And remember, the best defense is a good offense. Let's continue to stay vigilant and proactive in our cybersecurity efforts. So, we've journeyed through the world of pass-the-hash attacks. We've dived deep into the realm of cybersecurity, exploring the intricate labyrinth that is password security. We've uncovered the secrets behind these alphanumeric keys that grant us access to our digital lives, and we've unmasked the potential vulnerabilities that lurk beneath the surface. We then ventured into the unknown, introducing the concept of pass-the-hash attacks. An insidious technique employed by cybercriminals, it bypasses the need for a password entirely, exploiting the hash values generated by our systems. It's like a secret backdoor, a digital skeleton key that leaves our networks exposed. To combat this, we've discussed a variety of preventive measures, from limiting administrative privileges and implementing multi-factor authentication to regularly updating and patching systems. We've armed ourselves with an arsenal of tools to fend off these attacks. But remember, these measures are not just one-off tasks. They need to be a part of our routine, an integral part of our digital hygiene. In this vast digital landscape, network security has never been more important. The stakes are high and the threats are evolving, but with mindful digital practices, we can safeguard our networks. After all, knowledge is power. It's our shield and our sword in the battle against cyber threats. Stay safe, stay alert, and remember, your password might not be the only line of defense.